Welcome to PlotLines, where I'll use my years of experience in real estate communications to uncover the real stories behind real estate. I'm Britni. Join me as I invite guests to break down the headlines in the real estate market. All right, everyone, welcome back to PlotLines. Today, I'm thrilled to have Lauren Bergenholtz, the Senior National Account Executive at WithMe. Lauren, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's get started. Tell me a little bit about your background and your role at WithMe.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you mentioned, I'm on the national accounts team. So I oversee the strategic initiatives at WithMe and oversee the growth of our enterprise partnerships. My background in multifamily was definitely not traditional.
Okay.
I I feel like everyone has like a good pandemic story, and
Sure.
I'm definitely not any different. I kind of fell into multifamily in 2020. Came from the event industry, couldn't find a job, just like
Okay.
many people in 2020, and realized events. There was nothing really to go back to. So
Okay. Sure.
I, yeah, it's really tough to be in events when there's no events. So
Yeah.
ended up actually starting in the apartment locating industry. I basically helped people find apartments in
Okay.
Nashville, and eventually that led to joining forces with the W-2 side of that company, and I ended up helping them to grow new apartment locating markets.
Okay.
So, um, basically, I was solidifying partnerships with a lot of these regional managers and making sure that if we were to bring them leases that they would pay our brokerage. And that's kind of how I got my start. And the
Okay.
rest is really history.
Yeah. So then how did you find WithMe, or how did they find you?
So honestly, I wasn't really looking for a job. One
Yeah.
day I just randomly was like, I'm just going to look at like
See what's out
LinkedIn.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. I was, like I said, not even looking. I think it
Yeah.
might have been at like 8 o'clock at night. I was like sipping on my little glass of wine, and I saw this job posting for they were looking for a regional account executive in Denver.
Okay.
And
And
I
you
had
were in
worked,
Nashville at the time. Is that right?
I was actually in Denver.
Okay. So you had
I
moved.
had just moved to
Yeah.
Denver, and it was like serendipitous. This kind of popped up. I had been kind of
Yeah.
thinking about leaving my last company. And so I just like threw my resume over, like not really thinking anything would come of it. And I had a phone screen by 8 a.m. the next day, and was probably one of the quickest hires for the company. And so been here for 2 years, starting as the
Amazing.
regional account executive, and then now working and kind of spearheading the national account initiative for WithMe.
That's amazing. Yeah. And tell our listeners a little bit about who WithMe is and what you all do.
Yeah. So, WithMe really is first and foremost a prop tech amenity powered company. So,
Hmm.
what we focus on, we have two products really. We have Print with Me and Sip with Me. These
Okay.
are printers and coffee machines. They live inside of these multi-family communities in these
Hmm.
amenity spaces. And the difference in what we do as opposed to any other printer or coffee machine company is that we have actually created our own proprietary technology that's housed in these devices, and it gives operators the ability to offer allowances per month. So, an
Hmm.
allotted amount of prints, an allotted amount of coffee. And the benefit for them, and again, what makes us really different, is that by offering these allowances, they can kind of take control of their spend
Yeah.
instead of offering just, you know, as all this
Limitless.
list, they're at the
Yeah.
mercy
Yeah.
of the residents and how much coffee
Yeah.
they do. They can actually have fixed price packages.
Very cool.
Yeah, we can work around their budgets and work backwards and offer allowances that make sense for what they can actually spend, which right now, with the state of the market, let's just say we're very popular right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I bet everyone's trying to save a dollar for sure. All right. Well, the podcast, as you know, is all about sort of like dissecting headlines in the space. And we continue to always see articles about sort of this amenity arms race, if you will, right? So, what do you think continues to sort of drive that shift in the industry? Are we still at that point? Is it still a race? Walk me through sort of what you're seeing from the ground when it comes to, like you just said, you're very popular right now. So are we seeing some of those more, over the top amenities fall out of favor? I don't know. What are you seeing? What are you hearing?
Yeah, I think there's been a real shift in renter priorities.
Yeah.
When we kind of had that initial 2020, 2021 boom, renters really they wanted flashy. And I feel like these developers knew that. And we
Yeah.
started to see this boom of like these really over the top, like you've got golf simulators. Actually, my last community that I lived at in Denver, we had not one, but we had two karaoke rooms.
That's
Yeah.
that's awesome, but also why, right?
Why? Now
Yeah,
it photographed really well, but
sure.
as time has gone on and the renter priorities have changed, really feel like renters are looking for amenities that are going to remove the friction from their lives
Yeah,
and
makes
bring
sense.
that convenience back.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, right now, with inflation, price of groceries and it's funny, like, we sell coffee and Sip With Me, it's the community I live at, we have Sip With Me
Okay.
become a part of my daily routine. So
Mhm.
I don't have to go down the street to Starbucks and spend $7. I can, as I'm walking my dog every morning, I walk
Yeah.
my dog, I grab my coffee, and it's like integrated into my everyday routine.
Yep, yep.
Renters,
Whereas maybe you're not singing karaoke every night probably, right?
no one wants to hear me sing. I don't think I ever used either of the two karaoke rooms. But
Okay, yeah. So it sounds like, budget and affordability and usage are, things that multifamily clients are looking at. What else are you hearing from your clients right now? Like what's keeping them up at night? What are they talking about? What are they demanding?
I mean, definitely, it depends on who you're asking and what
Sure,
part of
I'm sure it
town, but
varies. Yeah.
yeah, it varies by market, but I think there's
Yeah.
always gonna be a pretty common themes across the United States. You're seeing a lot of compressed margins,
Yeah.
really high interest rates, and then, again, like, especially here in Nashville, there's a big softening on rent growth, and
Mhm.
so,
Mhm.
all of a sudden, the conversation starts to shift, especially when you're talking about amenities, like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, okay, w what is the cost of this amenity? Like, how much maintenance is going into this amenity?
Yeah.
What is the ROI on this amenity?" And all of a sudden, you're starting to see all these asset managers, which are like, is it really worth having these golf simulators and these really high ticket items, or does it make more sense right now with the shift in the renter, what they're looking for? Does it make more sense to shift to like a mini market, a coffee machine, a printer, or just something that's a little bit
Yeah.
more economical as opposed to these really high ticket items?
Yeah. And do you think that sentiment carries for both higher end multifamily communities to more, class B, class C, more affordable communities? I mean, do you think everyone is feeling the pinch on their expenses regardless of the sort of caliber of property?
Yeah, I would say across the board, even more so probably Class A. I
Mm-hmm.
do feel right now you have such an oversupply of
Yeah.
properties, and they all opened pretty similarly around the same time. So
Sure.
they are
Yeah.
all competing. They all have, they're all luxury apartments. They've
Mm-hmm.
got similar price points. There's a
Yeah.
concession war right now, so they're all offering the same exact concessions, and it's like, "Okay, I'm a renter and I need an apartment." All of a sudden, it becomes like, well, how do you diversify yourself in that space when everyone's offering the same exact
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah. It's tough. Yeah.
And that definitely it does trickle down, into more of the Class B properties, but I would say I feel like the tightest squeeze is really happening at the top.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, for sure. Um, what do you think are other threats that are facing the multifamily industry right now? or other opportunities? What else is sort of on your mind for 2026?
Would say right now, the amenities piece is one thing, but I do feel like there is a real loss of like that human touch in our industry, and
Mhm.
that's really come from the AI boom. And
Yeah,
I think right now, especially with the communities, everyone's in the same boat. They're all fighting for leases. They
sure.
all their occupancy is in the red and they're feeling the squeeze. I think the people that really are going to come out of this the least unscathed, I should say, are the people that are actually putting in that human touch and having that people first mentality.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can tell you myself, I've been actually in the market to potentially transfer apartments, and I took a tour last weekend, and it was a great tour, and that was, I met with the leasing agent, got a great tour of the property, but haven't really heard much since. Everything that I've gotten
Okay.
has been AI follow-up, definitely like templated emails, no phone calls, nothing really
Interesting.
super personal
Yeah.
in that follow-up, like things like I have a dog or, you know,
Yeah,
some
things that you
more.
brought up on the tour that they would know more intimately. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I do think that that is a huge opportunity right now for,
Mhm.
if you wanna stand out, of course,
Mhm.
yes, you wanna have great amenities, like but I think what's really gonna stand out the most to a renter right now is that human touch and kinda
Yeah.
bringing that back into the leasing process.
Yeah, I could see that because that's well, in a different vein, I've been looking at summer camps for my son and enrichment programs and things like that, right? But what stands out to you in those tours is those personal connections, the conversations you have after. So I could see how that translates, right? You get a robotic email and maybe it, I don't know, just puts a different taste in your mouth about whether you're going to select that as the place you're going to live. It's important.
Yeah, no, it definitely is.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we talked a little bit about sort of the usage. How much visibility do operators actually have into how and when and why residents are using their amenities?
Yeah, this is a really interesting question, and I think this is where asset management has really started to put, like, the pen to paper, and they're really trying to get the visibility here.
Yeah.
Usually for a lot of these amenities, unless there's some type of like access control into the amenity, or maybe there's something where it's going through like a resident app and they can really see usage, it's
Okay.
almost impossible to really
Mm.
track the ROI and the usage on these amenities. Most of these asset managers are really just they're taking the words of the property manager and
Like I
the lead.
see people using it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're in there.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's one of the things, with what we offer at WithMe, one of the biggest selling points and something that operators aren't really used to is that we're able to actually provide a usage report that shows unique users of the
Very
coffee
cool. Yep.
machine. So no longer is the conversation, oh, you brewed 1,000 cups of coffee. That doesn't really tell an operator what the
Yeah.
utilization is, and that's the important piece. That's the ROI they're looking for. Our reporting is a little different where it's gonna show, well, this is actually the, percentage of your overall residents that are
Yeah.
actually using and loving this amenity, and then they can actually, again, put the pencil to the paper, justify the spend, and that is where they can say, "Okay, this spend is residents really love it. Our
Mhm.
NPS score is great, great utilization. This is something we definitely wanna keep."
Okay. Yeah, very interesting. And I know we've talked a lot about the benefits to the renter, but what about um the benefits to staffing and operations, right? I mean, I assume that that's an important factor when owners and managers are choosing amenities for their properties as well. How much does that factor in when you're selling the product?
Yeah, this has actually become an even bigger conversation, especially for us. Coffee machines and even the printer, like they do require some care. You can't have
Sure.
you
Yeah.
can't have chocolate powder with hot water going through a machine, and it's going to
Yeah.
need a recycle here and there.
Yep.
A lot of these operators are there's some groups that have completely shifted over, but they're really trying to go to more of like a centralized model. So really reduce maybe some of the on-site staff to
Mhm.
really save on operating expenses. In
Mhm.
some markets, like in this is pretty prevalent in Southern California, it's staffing challenges in general and keeping good people on site are
Sure.
it's a
Yeah.
huge challenge. So now it comes to the question of like, okay, well, we want to have this great amenity, but like if this is something where it's just so much maintenance and it's just like all these, high cost ticket items of us trying to maintain it, at what point does it really not is it not worth our value anymore?
Sure. Yeah.
And is it something we can even maintain as is with, running on this thin staff?
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. I mean, we're focusing on retention and attracting new tenants and those experiences and customer service, like you talked about, to be pulling your staff away to go maintain amenities and things like that. Yeah, that could be a challenge for sure. Um, okay, great. So looking ahead, how do you anticipate the amenity strategy to continue to evolve, right? It sounds like sort of, COVID happened. Then there was this desire for like top of the top amenities. Now it sounds like there's a bit more of a shift to things that are within your routine, more essential. Do you think we're going to continue heading that way, or do you see any other evolution happening in the amenity space?
I think that we're just going to keep seeing more of what we're seeing now. A lot of spaces that maybe were built for one intention, people are coming back in and revitalizing these spaces into more viable options for their residents. So I don't
Hmm.
really see that slowing down. I think we're going to see a huge shift to more practical amenities.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this. Actually, when I was touring the apartment community that I was talking about last weekend, it was really interesting. I've seen this company called Tulu, which is launched, and it basically is like a rental service on site for like everyday items, like vacuums. There is a little food market with snacks, air
Wow.
mattresses, projectors, just things that
Yeah.
like are such a convenience to the resident. I've never seen anything really like it before. It's exploding here in Nashville, but I just, on top of like, we have coffee and printing that's, an
Yeah.
everyday activity. We're starting to see other companies kind of follow along on the same suit.
Very cool. Yeah, I'll have to keep an eye out for that. And it's hearing you is making me miss renting because
Yes.
homeownership is a whole other animal with taking care of everything on your own. I miss that convenience.
Yes,
All right,
my
great.
my washer like it broke the other day. Trust me, I was maintenance. Come fix it. I'm
Yeah, right.
not dealing with it.
I know, I know. I do miss that. All right, Lauren. Well, we've covered a ton of ground. As you know, the podcast, I always give guests the opportunity to write their own headline. So if you could write one about amenities and multifamily, what would it look like?
Yeah, so I feel like it might be a little bit cheesy, but
No,
kind
it's
of going
okay.
back to my original, like when we first kind of started talking about
Yeah,
like that removal of like the friction from the everyday renter. Like, how do we
sure.
make life easier for renters? So I would say probably something along the lines of like less friction, more life, like being more people forward.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. I think it benefits both the staff and the experience. So it touches on everything we covered today. All right. Amazing. Well, Lauren, I so appreciate you doing this with me. And you guys are doing some great stuff at With Me. So good to hear all of it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was great joining you today.
This podcast is a production of Gregory. If you enjoyed our discussion, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts